Well, it's 4th of July, 2023, and the state of our union is horribly bad. It's the best way I could put it. It's in bad condition. Many people are flying the flag upside down, showing that our country is in distress. And I would have to agree, it is in distress. It is in a bad situation. Um, but it's not hopeless. It is not hopeless. The thing to remember is that even though our freedoms are being taken away from us, and I'll explain a little bit about that in a moment, the fact is we can reverse our way out of it. Okay? And the key to reversing our way out of it is simply this: pray for our nation, uh, become biblically minded through the scriptures, study the scriptures as often and as much as possible so we can renew our mind with the mind of Christ, take out the mind of depravity and put in the mind of Christ. It's this battle between the spirit and the flesh called sanctification for the believer. For the unbeliever, you haven't even hit step one. For the unbeliever, you can fight your temporal battle here on this earth, but it's not really going to accomplish anything. You have to win the spiritual battle first. Then you can begin to fight the temporal battle. By temporal battle, I mean the political battles, the liberty, the freedom battles, winning your liberty. You have to win the spiritual battle first, because you can replace a tyrannical government with a government that provides some sort of freedom or more freedom than the tyrannical government did, but it's only going to be a matter of time before the tyranny raises its head and comes back in again. And the reason is because of the nature of mankind. And no, I'm not going to say womankind. Women are included in mankind, okay? So, I'm not playing this silly, nonsensical, garbage game of, well, you have to talk in the modern way, right? You have to use certain pronouns, or you have to say things a certain way. No, I'll say them however I intend to say them. I'll say them in whatever manner I choose. And nobody's going to regulate my speech that way, okay? Now, you can get mad at my speech. You cannot like my speech. That's perfectly fine. That's up to you. But you will not tell me how to speak. You will not tell me what your pronoun... Well, you can tell me what your pronouns are, but I'll use whatever the heck pronoun I want to use. If I think you were born a biological male, I'm going to say he. If I think you were born a biological female, I'm going to say she. Bottom line. If you don't like it, well, it sounds like you have a personal problem. You're offended? Okay, whatever. If you're offended at truth, or how I choose to speak, to express myself, that's your problem, not mine. That's where we have to get to, folks. We have to understand that we can't be just controlled and manipulated by these people who want to put tyranny down upon us. Now, we pray for our nation, number one. We become biblically minded, number two. Number three, we seek to work within our locale, okay? Our town, our county, our local city, our community. Our local community is where we begin. It's from bottom up, not from top bottom. They want it to be top bottom. They want to dictate and control all of us from the top. Well, we have to start saying, nope, you know what? We're going to dictate and control you from the bottom. And how do you do that? When they bring some mandate down or something that they want to control you with that violates the Constitution, which is the law of the land. I don't want to get into that debate. For me, the Constitution is the law of the land. I don't care what the politician in Washington says or what he thinks. Or we can just ignore the politician, the Constitution. We can ignore the Fourth Amendment or the Fifth Amendment because of this act or that act, and I'll talk about those in a moment. If they can ignore it, if they want to ignore it, okay, but I'm not going to. My country is regulated by the Constitution. Okay? So I don't, so when a mandate comes down or something comes down upon us that violates that Constitution, resist it. Because that is not the law of the land. The Constitution is the law of the land. They are the ones breaking the law, not us. Resist. Well, you have to wear a mask when you leave the house. Now, look, folks, this is coming again. Or at least they're going to try to do it again. They're going to try to shut us down again. They're going to try to get us wearing masks again. They're going to try to get us taking, vitamins of their sort. How can you say it without getting in trouble on social media? They're going to try to get us to do that again. To poison our bodies. They're trying to get us to poison our bodies again. And they're going to try to tell us that if we don't, we're endangering other people. Well, now we know that those who poisoned their bodies 20, 21, 22, right? They're the ones endangering us through the possibility of shedding the poison that they received onto us. I don't know if shedding actually happens or not. I mean, there's a scientific debate about that right now in the medical community. It's not been completely established as being the case, but you never know. Now, what happened to America that it's in distress? Let me move this just a slight bit. There we go. Well, a lot of people point to 1871 with when Washington, D.C. was formed out of between Virginia and Maryland, two counties there, Washington County and I think Lexington County was the other one. Anyway, they formed the D.C. And that was an act that occurred in 1871, and that's where a lot of folks are saying, well, that's when America became a corporation because they said it was incorporated. Okay, so a lot of people will take it back to there. A lot of people will take it back to just after Revolutionary War, saying that the banking interest of England was already infiltrating our country at that point in time. Now, I don't know if all that's completely true, but I do know this. We're losing our freedoms, and I'm sure sinister people who wanted to get rid of the Constitution and control us have been working since just after the Revolution. By what means they were doing it? Well, there could be debate about that. It could have been 1871 where they incorporated the entire nation, or maybe it's true that the term corporation has multiple meanings and does not necessarily mean what these folks are saying. That's the counter argument. Regardless, we are losing our freedoms. And I think to me, the biggest thing that in our time that has caused us to lose a lot of our freedoms is the Patriot Act. Yeah, that false flag operation on 9/11 that brought down the two towers in Building 7 and what really looks to me like a controlled demolition. And there's a video I saw where firefighters on 9/11 were saying, we need to clear the building, there's a secondary device. And they said, what? There's a bomb, another bomb. There's a bomb in the building, they were saying. I mean, there's all kinds of little pieces of evidence out there that it was a false flag operation, that we've been lied to about the whole thing. Well, how many times have we been lied to? We're starting to learn that we've been lied to about a lot of things as we go along. So this is done by design, by sinister people, for the purpose of killing the Constitution and killing our freedoms. This is my conclusion of it, my opinion, but this is how I've concluded it. The Patriot Act has done more to take away our Fourth Amendment and Fifth Amendment rights than any other act in the history of the country. You could point back to, I think it's 1933 or in the early 1930s, when income tax came in. The power to tax is the power to control, right? Let me back that up. The power to tax income specifically is the power to control. And that was a beginning of the downfall of our liberties and our freedoms. Once that act went in, they had an inroad to be able to start eliminating our freedoms. The Patriot Act was a huge blow to our freedoms. With the Patriot Act, they can surveil you through a secret FISA warrant. They can bust into your house without a warrant. Well, a secret FISA warrant. What is that? Right? That's a problem with the Fifth Amendment, because you don't have the right to face your accuser. You don't have a right to a speedy trial. You don't have a right to due process. They just come and take you, and they put you wherever they're going to put you, and you're never seen or heard from again. Could be Gitmo. Because they deem you to be a part of a terrorist group. The problem is how they're defining terrorist groups. Well, lately, moms and dads that go speak at school boards saying, yeah, we don't really agree with this curriculum, or we don't agree with how you're running the schools, are deemed to be a terrorist group. When are they going to start gathering them up and sending them to Gitmo? That's why the country is in distress. They've killed our freedoms. They've been targeting the Catholic Church, Roman Catholic Church lately, certain aspect of it, saying it's a terrorist group or it's a insurgent group, and going after them. Well, I'll start with them. The Roman Catholic Church is an easy target because they're a big target, right? I mean, it's easier to hit the broadside of a barn than it is a small target on the tree back here, right? Well, they're going to eventually go for the small targets, the Methodists, the Baptists, the Presbyterians, the Church of the Nazarene. I mean, all the different Protestant denominations you can think of, the Pentecostals, you name them. Name them. We're going to be on the target list, folks. If you are a Christian that attends church and you believe the Bible, you will be named a terrorist group in this nation before it's over. And they will start, if they get what they want, these sinister people that want to attack us. I mean, look at Yuval Noah Harari, who would love to get rid of all the Christians. A sodomite Jew who thinks he's smarter than everybody else in the country. He's very arrogant that way. Klaus Schwab and the boys, BlackRock. Can we go down the list? BlackRock being the hedge fund corporation that really kind of dictates to other corporations, boom, 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 what they will and won't do, because they can control stock. And so that's where a lot of the corporations are going woke, or they're creating a DEI department, diversity, equity, and inclusion department. And that kills anyone who has a biblical worldview, anyone who's a Bible believer, anyone who has Christian or Judeo-Christian values is ostracized in a corporation like that. They don't want you in their corporation if you believe in biblical values. That's why the country is in distress. The country is in distress because of their attempt to severely limit the Fourth Amendment, to severely, eventually to try to get to the point where it's meaningless. All can still be there present on the Constitution, but it's never used because all of these other acts have completely destroyed it. Acts like the Patriot Act. Recently, the Freedom Act, well, that was it, 2015, the Freedom Act came out and had a few limitations on the Patriot Act where they couldn't just surveil everyone's cell phones and everyone's iPads and computers and all of that all the time. They had to actually have reasons. But still, you could be on your, but it's all based upon, are you considered to be a potential threat to the country as a terrorist group? Well, if you are a Bible-believing Christian, guess what? You're in that category. If you're a Roman Catholic, guess what? You're in that category. If you've taken an oath to defend the Constitution and you actually believe in that oath, you are actually in that category. So they can surveil you. They can bust into your house anytime they want. You know those doorbell ring thingies? Do we read the fine print on these contracts that we click off on when we purchase these agreements, these software agreements for computers, these doorbell software agreements and so forth? No, because it's in legalese and it's 50 pages long, right? And even if you tried to read the 50 pages, you'd need a law dictionary to try and understand it. And even with a law dictionary, it would take you a long time to start to figure it out. Or you could hire a lawyer to look it over and tell you, what does it say before? Who's going to do that? You're just trying to get an app on your phone. Or you're trying to get something to function on your computer. Oh, it's this agreement, and you scroll through it, and it's 50 pages long. It's a bunch of legalese and small print. You're going, oh, heck, I'm going to read that. I want the function on my computer, and you click it. What are we giving away? What freedoms are we giving away when we click those things? Because, see, there's an exception in the Fourth Amendment. It's called consent. And when we give consent, by clicking on the agreement, that means they can surveil our computer, our iPhone, our iPad, the doorbell thing. They can come into your house, or they can surveil your house through your cameras in your house because you gave consent. You see how sneaky and sinister these people are. The people who are running our country don't care about you or me or the house we live in. They could care less. This is why our country is in distress. So this 4th of July, I'm celebrating the Constitution. I'm celebrating liberty as it was in its original meaning, which means the ability and the right to do the right thing. The ability to worship God in the manner that you choose without interference. Right? Freedom of religion. The ability to say what you need to say or what you want to say without interference. Freedom of speech. Right? But to do, the purpose of that, freedom of the press, right? Well, the press is, they went corrupt themselves. Okay, what they've done to themselves, it was their own fault. But they still have freedom of the press. Freedom of the press is giving us the alternative media. You can go down to those rights, but what is the purpose? What was the original purpose for those rights? It's so that we could do the right thing without interference. We could do the right thing without a government official coming along and saying, no, you can't do that. All right? So we have Christians and Judeo-Christian people who believe in the Judeo-Christian ethic all across our nation who are trying to do the right thing, and government officials are coming along and they're saying, no, you cannot do that. And that's why our country is in distress. So we could talk about these acts and their effects. I mean, every time they want to limit something, they create a false flag operation, and to create panic and to create fear and to bring this discussion into the mainstream media to push an agenda. The Second Amendment is it has been under assault because people don't want it. Well, the people at the top don't want it because they cannot manipulate and control us and bring their boot down upon our necks if we're allowed to have the Second Amendment. So they want to get rid of it so they can bring their boot down upon our necks. That's the only reason they want to get rid of it. It has nothing to do with safety. It has nothing to do with hunting, okay? It has to do with us being able to protect ourselves from tyranny. It has to do with us being able to protect our families from criminals who might want to do us harm. That's what it has to do with. That's why it's called a responsible gun owner, someone who responsibly handles the weapon, does not use it in the wrong way, but only uses it in the right way for self-defense in the most dire situation where their life is immediately under threat. Right? Or a life of their family member or their neighbor is under threat, and they're rushing to help that person. That's what it's for. But they create these false flag shootings so that they can push their agenda. This is all sinister, okay? That's why our country is in distress. But I have good news. Some good things are happening. There have been some good Supreme Court decisions that have helped us out. When they said that Roe versus Wade was going to go back to the states, that did a lot to save a lot of lives that were going to be murdered in abortion clinics. There are a number of states where abortion clinics have basically shut down altogether. Hallelujah. Those babies' lives have been saved. It's just a blob of protoplasm. It's not really a person. Okay, Mr. Ignorant, Mrs. Ignorant. Life begins at conception, whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not. Okay? God determines when life begins, not you. All right? And David said in the Psalms to God, you knew me when my mother conceived me. And then he said this, I was born in iniquity. I was born with the sin of Adam in me. Life begins at conception is biblically true. What about scientifically true? Well, if God tells you it begins at conception, why are you going to argue with him? Why would you argue with your Creator? My goodness. That's the height of arrogance. Well, I know, God, you said life begins at conception, but I haven't seen scientific proof, so therefore, B just hit me on the side, therefore, I can't believe you, God, until it's scientifically proven. You arrogant jerk. You're an arrogant jerk if that's what you say. Okay? If you don't say that, it doesn't apply to you, so don't worry about it. But that's where we are on this 4th of July. So since before my battery runs out, because I just got another low battery notice on my phone, just remember, this July 4th, we need to go forward from this celebration of our original Constitution, of our original nation, before it was co-opted by a bunch of communists and socialists and neocon oligarchs. The original Constitution is what we're celebrating. The original understanding of freedom is what we're celebrating. And let's go forth in prayer. Let's go forth with a biblical mindset, because that's what the Constitution was built upon. It was built upon a Judeo-Christian ethic. And let's go forth fighting this battle at the local level. I'm one individual. I can't take the entire world on and defeat it. But I can take on my local city councilman, right? I can take on my local school board, which, by the way, I advocate you just taking your kids out of school. Here's what I'll end with this. Here's how you deal with a school board. About 150 of you or 200 of you show up at school board, and you walk up to the mic, and it only takes you a few seconds to do this. And it will get their attention like nothing else. They won't be rolling their eyes. They won't be yawning. They won't be sleeping while you're talking. They'll be sitting up going, oh crap. Here's what you do. I just want to inform you, school board, that I'm taking my children out of your schools. I will not be returning them because of the evil that you have foisted upon them. And they will be trained in the manner that I choose as the parent. I just want to inform you that my children will no longer be attending your schools till they graduate high school. And then the next person comes up and says, I'm pulling my kids out of your school. The next person, I'm pulling my kids out of your school. The next person, I'm pulling my kids out of your school. They hear about, 50 of those. They're in panic mode. Now they're scared because they're losing money. Because school funding is based upon attendance. You want to get their attention? Pull your kids out. And let them know, I'm pulling my kids out because I disagree with your ethics. I disagree with your morals. And they're not your kids, they're our kids. And we're going to prove they're our kids by pulling them out of school, and they're not coming back. We're going to homeschool them. We'll form our own co-op and hire our own teachers to teach them according to our morals and values. We'll send them to a Christian school, whatever it might be, but they're not going to your government schools anymore. That's how you handle it. I haven't heard anybody doing that. They're going there and they're giving great speeches, and they're chewing these board members upside down, one side and down the other, and the board members are sitting there going, oh. Let them speak. They have no control over us. We'll do whatever the heck we want regardless of what they say. But when you walk up and you say, my kids are leaving out of your school and they're not coming back, and one after another, after another, after another, after another, after another says that, now they're going, oh no. Oh man. Oh no. Oh my goodness. We're going to lose funding. We're going to have a serious problem on our hands now. That's how you get their attention. All right, folks. Have a wonderful 4th of July. I'll see you guys next time. God bless.